Welcome inside the vault on a Tuesday. It's the 18th of November. It's officially week 12 of this NFL regular season. And today is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. You guys know that our November giveaway consists of a $100 gift certificate to Fanatics. It's the Ravens official team store, and that is courtesy of our friends at PRMI. If you want to get started and enter yourself in today before I tell you about them in 20, 25 minutes or so, click on the link that we have pinned right now in the live chat, and there's also information in the show notes below for you. Obviously, Bobby is solo today. Bobby is solo, third person. I'm solo today. Sarah had something come up, and she will be out the next 2 days. So some solo commentary to begin, and then the great Derek Coleman from All 22 Ravens Film Analysis will join us to talk about the state of this offensive line, to talk about Draymond Jones, and a number of encouraging pieces to this Ravens defense that's been rounding out into form, really dating back to week 6 against the Rams pre-bye week. So I'm looking forward to that. And then former Super Bowl winning Raven Femi Ayambadejo will join the vault tomorrow at 12:30. So that's what's going on today. Appreciate you guys for being with us. As always, if you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership. Douglas H. Brown Sr. is already here with a $20 super chat, and he writes, "The good news is that I am so busy that I have to be in the office today to do paperwork, so I will get to enjoy you two today. Let's go." Appreciate you, DHB Sr., for kicking things off. And here's the rest of the rundown before I dive into why the math ain't mathing in terms of John Harbaugh's latest comments and latest defense of his offensive line. Marlon Humphrey revealed the hurricane executor, meaning behind the game-winning play, who was the mastermind behind the game-winning play, dialed up by Todd Monken and executed by Mark Andrews and this offensive line on Sunday in Cleveland. A clip from Marlon's podcast will be forthcoming. And again, encouraging defensive numbers. We will dive into those deeply coming up over the next hour or so. Without further ado, let's address the elephant in the room. I gave 90 minutes of content last night, obviously related to the current state of this Ravens offensive line. And I think John Harbaugh's comments, as they have in the past, really going back to just a few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago or so, has once again sparked an uproar within this fan base. The state of the Ravens offensive line is subpar. It's been concerning, to say the very least. And both guards, it's not just both guards that are struggling. This is a collective group effort that is not meeting the standards of what needs to take place in order to successfully put forth an offense that's capable of exceeding expectations, meeting expectations that we all have seen before, and hopefully we'll see again. Russell Street Report tallied up pass blocking grades and run blocking grades according to PFF from this group on Sunday in Cleveland. And as you see here, there was quite a drop-off for Daniel Fa'alele, who continues to be in the spotlight under the microscope within this group. Tyler Linderbaum led the way with a 78.1 pass blocking grade. Andrew Voorhees, 75.7. Roger Rosengarten, 57.5. Tough day for Rosie. Ronnie Stanley, of course, had the toughest day. And who wouldn't when number 95 is playing so historically as he has been for years now. Myles Garrett running away with the Defensive Player of the Year for my money. Ronnie had a struggle, but Daniel Fa'alele struggled the most. He was graded out as a 23.2 overall ranking when it comes to PFF analysis on pass blocking Sunday in Cleveland. Yes, it goes without saying that Pro Football Focus is not the be-all, end-all, but it is something that's highly regarded throughout football, maybe not by all coaches, but it is something that needs to be tracked, will be tracked, and is something that obviously the Ravens have to come to terms with at some point, because this is a Ravens offensive line that I think that there's realistic questions to be asked and ultimately answered. Is this the group that's going to get it done for them? Yes, it's been a murderer's row schedule through the first half of this season. And yes, they've gone against some really, really talented defensive fronts. But this is a group that's just not getting it done overall. And you're starting to see the wear and tear effect on Lamar, not just physically, but from an overall polished decision-making standpoint as well in the pocket. It's tight pockets. It's congested pockets. Man, I just finished watching Cole Jackson's video of some of his analysis from Sunday's game. And that shameless plug, of course, we'll have the collective tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, as we always do. Jeff Zaribek, Cole, and myself, looking forward to that conversation. But these are not winning pockets. These are not winning moments for an offensive line that has Lamar under duress, that has Lamar throwing inaccurately at times, and that has perhaps Lamar pressing a bit as well. With all of that said, yes, I do want to acknowledge who they have faced throughout this point in the season. And Samuel Njoku, friend of the show, Ravens Talk Pod, great dude, tallied up a tweet earlier this morning that I wanted to read for you, just to kind of remind everybody who the competition's been. The Ravens have faced off against one of the current top 10 defenses in terms of yards per game 6 times this season. Houston, Cleveland, of course, twice, Detroit, Kansas City, and Minnesota. And of course, they still have games against a couple of top 10 at the moment scoring defenses left on their schedule in Green Bay and in New England. Now, that New England game will be home. And of course, the Packers, a couple days after Christmas, will be at Lambeau. So you always want to provide that context. But I think the context that we all know exists right now is there is a significant weakness and a deficiency within the confines of this offense that other teams consistently are exploiting, finding ways to exploit. And based on John Harbaugh's latest comments, it doesn't appear that anything's going to change. Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic had this interaction and this exchange with John Harbaugh yesterday at his Monday weekly press conference in Owings Mills.
Just in general nowadays, people will focus on one or two clips of a certain offensive line, or in particular like a group of offensive line. You guys obviously evaluate everything. Are you seeing the necessary progress that you want to see from that group as a whole going forward?
Yeah, I am. I mean, is it more to the question, or is it just a general question like that?
It was a general question about, you've been asked almost every week about making potential changes there and why not. And I'm asking, are you seeing the progress where you don't think changes are necessary?
You put the best 5 players out there. The best 5 players are the best of the guys, 5 guys who are playing the best. That's what you do. I mean, it's not even a hard answer, So the question is pretty much, yeah, we're putting the best 5 players out there, and they're playing pretty darn good. Can they play better? Sure. You evaluate it play by play. Every single position, you evaluate it play for play for play for play. And some plays are great. Some plays are good. Some plays need to be better. You want them to be better, and you try to improve on them. So that's how it goes with every position. So, and there's always going to be areas where, that from one game to the next can play better or whatever. So that's how it works. You put your team out there and you compete. That's what we've been doing. So all of our guys, including our offensive line, fight and compete and get after it. And that's what those guys are doing too. So none of our positions are perfect. And they're not perfect either. So, but they're trying to be. They're trying to be. So, we put our best group out there and we fight. That's what we do.
John, do you think that their continuity, and just how relatively healthy the group has been, has a kind of compounding effect at this time of year, just with how much time on task they've been able to have those starting 5?
Yeah, I mean that's important, especially for that position. It's a valuable thing.
So first of all, you got to tip your cap to Jeff Zaribek for sticking his neck out there, asking what I thought was a very fair, thorough, and reasonable question, right? With a follow-up included there after John Harbaugh essentially demeaned the question in a sense, or, raised a brow, or even the nose a sense to the question. No, this was a fair, thorough, reasonable question that a lot of us have been wondering, wanting to ask, right? And so credit to Jeff for handling it the way that he did. I was not a fan of the way that John chose to handle the answer. I thought that was a bare minimum. I thought that was inconsistent with past ways that he's chosen to handle similar questions that have been lobbed at him related to the state of the offensive line. And look, I see some of you that are critiquing today's content when it comes to the fact that they've won 4 in a row, the fact that they've successfully dug themselves out for the time being of the 1-5 hole that they were staring at not all that long ago, the fact that this defense is playing complementary football, effectively rushing the passer, not allowing too many explosive plays, and obviously with a DPOY candidate in Kyle Hamilton that's playing like the world that is on fire. All of that is talked about often inside the vault. All of that is a given, right? It's about the bigger picture some days. And I think Tuesdays typically are a perfect day for exactly that. Mondays, you bask in it. Mondays, you talk about the win. It's the 24-hour cycle, win or lose or draw. I can't believe they actually draw in football. I wish they would just abolish the whole tie, but that's neither here nor there. And then Tuesdays are for, hey, now that it's been flushed and the 24-hour rule is over, you got to look at this objectively. You got to look at this from a perspective of, okay, what's going to keep the Ravens within this win now period of time that they find themselves in, with a core that is intact for a temporary amount of time, knowing that you have a significant amount of free agents that are in expiring deals and probably in all likelihood won't all be here. And I, not even in all likelihood, not every single player that it has an expiring contract will be a Raven in 2026. That's just the business side of it. But what's going to keep this team from getting to where they want to go? And right now, through a 10-game sample size, 11 weeks, entering week 12, it's an offensive line that has left a lot to be desired, and has left a quarterback in a period of, talk about uncertainty, talk about tumultuous. Lamar has already missed multiple games with a hamstring. Lamar has taken a couple of the biggest hits of his career to date, one of which was in week 1 against Ed Oliver. Clean hit. Well, the clean hit can probably be debated when it comes to roughing the passer and the weight that was thrown onto Lamar in that moment. One actually was just a week ago or so in Minnesota. Dallas Turner got fined, by the way, and was called, rightfully so, based on the definition, for roughing the passer. And then, of course, just this past week, Lamar popped up on the injury report with a knee. So it's a situation that you certainly don't envy, and it's not something that's sustainable moving forward. Cole Jackson tallied up, as he always does, the overall pressures allowed, according to Pro Football Focus, up and down this Ravens offensive line. Ronnie Stanley, on a day where he had the toughest assignment in football, allowed 4. Daniel Fa'alele allowed 3. Roger Rosengarten allowed 2. Tyler Linderbaum and Andrew Voorhees each allowed 1. Obviously, these numbers don't tell the full story. As you go back and look at the film, particularly Lamar's dropbacks, oftentimes Linderbaum was moving off to his left leaving Daniel Fa'alele in space. And as Cole talked about in his most recent offensive line breakdown, when you get 77 in space and he doesn't have help to his right, to his left, it's not going to end well because laterally he is deficient. It's not going to work. 77 cannot move laterally, especially against a championship caliber defensive front that Cleveland possesses. Lamar was pressured on 14 of his 31 dropbacks. That's 45.2%. He was under duress. He was forced to make decisions quickly. There was not a lot of space or comfort in the pocket. It led to inaccuracy. And look, sometimes Lamar's got to wear this as well. Lamar, as you always know, when it comes to the way I view the game, Lamar is never above. No player is ever above criticism. So Lamar, of course, has to be talked about as well. He's struggled. One of his worst statistical games as a Raven came on Sunday against Cleveland. But there's always context as to why that was the case. And in some cases, you know, with the way that Myles Garrett was beating up on this offensive line, with the way that Lamar did not have ample time to go through his reads, his progressions, it's a trickle-down effect. It led to inaccuracies. It led to ill-advised decision-making at times. And I think moving forward, this is a group that when it comes to gauging confidence levels right now, it's, what a pendulum swing and shift over the last month or so. Going from a defense that was piss poor to a moment where now you're just asking yourself, Lamar, if he's out there, you'll always have a chance to win. And Derrick Henry, despite some of his struggles on first down, a lot of which has to do with the offensive line, some predictability added in there if you're Todd Monken. Both of those future Hall of Famers, you're always going to have a chance to win. But is this sustainable? Past the favorable stretch that you find yourself in right now with the Jets coming to town on Sunday in Baltimore. Captain Hard is here, and he writes, article about Todd is playing out. It was confusing how Todd got called out and not Zach, but now it makes sense. The offense is built on Lamar being able to extend plays because the line is that bad. Captain writes, best starting five? Can't believe that. I need to see Ben or Bullock with my own eyes to believe the best starting five is out there. And Morrow the Wizard says, is this an attempt to not pay Lamar? Make it as bad as possible? They don't care about injury or improving line for optimal plays. Magic Lamar. Oh, they're going to pay Lamar. They would be foolish to not pay Lamar. John Harbaugh's comments from week 6 are something that I'd like to revisit. It's kind of a juxtaposed next to the comments that we heard earlier on from yesterday defending the current state of the Ravens offensive line. And you see part of those words up on the screen. This was with Jeff. Quote, you put the best 5 players out there. The 5 guys who are playing the best. That's what you do. That's not even a hard answer. Yeah, we're putting the best 5 players out there, and they're playing pretty darn good. None of our positions are perfect, but they're trying to be. We put our best group out there, and we fight. So again, this was not exactly the most reasonable way to answer what I thought was a really reasonable question posed by Jeff. There was a level of sarcasm in there, or I don't know if sarcasm is the right word, but there was a level of pettiness. There was a level of essentially, why are you asking that, right? Demeaning the question, demeaning the interviewer, if you will, which is a far cry from week 6, the day after the Houston Texans debacle, where DeMeco Ryans and company came into Baltimore and handed them one of their worst losses ever on the M&T Bank Stadium home turf to the tune of a 44-10 beatdown. Yes, Lamar did not play in that game, but I didn't see a lot of want to out there. I didn't see a lot of complimentary football whatsoever. But I do want to revisit comments that were made by John when he was specifically asked the day after in his Monday press conference about whether or not he would consider any kind of offensive line personnel changes. Here's that clip.
On the table. I mean, we always consider that. We look at it. I'd say it's a conversation every week. Sometimes it's not really a conversation because you know who you're. When Kyle's healthy, I know he's going to be our starting safety. And Marlon's going to be our starting nickel. But there are guys that are in that area where they still have to prove themselves. And those guys are under consideration all the time. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point. But you got to keep earning that, and you got to keep getting better. You can't plateau. It can't be like we want to build something and then all of a sudden it's not getting there as fast as we think it should or we envisioned it. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, then at some point in time somebody else is going to get a chance, and that's just the way it should work.
Look, I don't know how. Look, at the time they were 1-4. They were 1 week out of the bye, right at the time of that snippet. Again, just for those of you tuning in, that was the day after the Texans debacle. 44-10, 1-4 hole. Nothing was going right for them. Defense was struggling. Offense wasn't able to move the ball. Special teams struggled. I mean, it was just a disaster across the board. So maybe he was more receptive to the idea of that kind of constructive question that was asked by a reporter. And I know I clipped that out. It was essentially like, hey, are you considering personnel changes to your offensive line? And that was the question. I should say that was the answer to the question. As we were discussing in the Discord this morning, and if you guys haven't already joined, would love for you to do so. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. It's free to join. I'll drop the link in. Evan and Jabbo, I thought we were going back and forth on trying to understand what John Harbaugh's goal was here, to go back to, and I think the word is condescending, right? I think that's a good word that Evan used there. It was sort of a condescending way, going back to yesterday, to answer Jeff's question. You put the best 5 players out there, the 5 guys who are playing the best. That's what you do. That's not even a hard answer. And the tone, of course, was as if he was irritated by Jeff's question. Maybe some of the irritation comes from the fact that they are winners of 4 in a row. They have dug themselves out a hole. There has been hit pieces. There has been more media attention and scrutiny than maybe ever before at this point in the regular season. But at the same time, the difference, the dichotomy between the two approaches to a very similar question, wow, couldn't be more night and day. Everything's on the table, he said after week 6. There are guys that are in that area where they still have to prove themselves. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point, but you've got to keep earning that. You can't plateau. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, at some point in time, somebody else is going to get a chance. And that's just the way that it should work. I think we can all probably agree that that's the way that it should work. So why hasn't that been the case? Do they feel like they don't have somebody that could make it work better in-house? If so, that's a conversation that has to be discussed when it comes to evaluating Eric DeCosta's job and maybe the job that he didn't do well enough in the offseason. You allow Patrick McCary, deservedly so or understandably so, to walk in free agency and get paid handsomely by Jacksonville, and you go ahead and draft an injured player. And hey, all due respect to Emory Jones, I hope he has a wonderful career and future in this league. But drafting a player who you knew had shoulder concerns because of a labrum procedure that he underwent after the combine, and then a month later you draft that player, and it essentially becomes, potentially, there's still obviously 7-8 more weeks left in this regular season. But is it going to be a redshirt season for Emory? He was activated off of the non-football injury list, several weeks ago, and now he's an active member of the 53-man roster, yet he's still been a healthy scratch, leading you to believe that, one, they don't feel like he's ready, or two, or maybe it's both, that they don't feel like he's fully healthy yet. I would imagine it's probably the former, or maybe a combination of the both. But that's not great team building from a front office perspective. If you truly feel like Ben Cleveland, one of the more longer tenured Ravens, isn't the answer, or isn't better than what you have out in the field right now, and you don't feel like a former undrafted rookie and Corey Bullock isn't better than what you have on the field right now, and I'm specifically talking about guard play, then that's ultimately an indictment on the front office. Now, I can't sit here and tell you confidently that there is someone better behind Daniel Fa'alele and Andrew Voorhees waiting in the wings, because I'm not privy to what takes place behind closed doors and at practice, straight up. And I think it would be disingenuous of me to get up here and say otherwise. But I empathize with so many of you who feel like it's a given that it can't be worse what's waiting in the wings. And in the spirit of transparency, or in the spirit of experimenting, why not at least give someone else a shot, going back to the very words that John Harbaugh has on the screen and said himself just over a month ago, leading into week 6 against the Rams. And I will read it once more for those of you to just reemphasize in the audio, maybe perhaps those of you that don't see the words in the transcription up on the screen, I will reemphasize them from the transcription entering week 6. Everything's on the table, Harbaugh said. There are guys that are in that area where they still have to prove themselves. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point, but you've got to keep earning that. You can't plateau. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, at some point in time, somebody else is going to get a chance. And that's just the way that it should work. The math ain't mathing, guys. And Coach DC is going to tell you why in just a bit. Got to get a read in first, Coach. We'll come to you in just a bit. Derek Coleman, all 22 Ravens film analysis, just moments away from dropping inside the vault. But beforehand, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. And you guys know the drill. We got a $100 Fanatics gift card to give away to Baltimore's team store. Before I tell you about those instructions, have you ever seen a home that needs a little bit of work, but very obviously is your dream home, right? Like after said work gets done, you envision that as your bona fide dream home. That's where Primary Residential Mortgage's Empower FHA 203K loan perhaps could come in handy. It's ideal for turning a fixer-upper into your dream home. It's a loan that you can do renovations on, that you also get down payment assistance on. The program itself offers you the same great things that a renovation loan offers, but it's coupled with down payment assistance to help you get to the table for less money. Okay, it's up to 5%. Some of the bullet points that go along with this, the incentives there, up to 5% down payment assistance based on purchase price. It is not just available for first-time home buyers. There are no income limits. 620 and higher in terms of credit score gets you in the door. And renovation costs are uncapped within FHA limits. Great opportunity. Primary Residential Mortgage has briefed Sarah and I on this brand new chance to get involved with them if you are a VAULTRON. Again, it is the Empower FHA 203K loan, as you see up on the screen. You can learn more by going to our specific landing page right now at primeres.com. That is linked in the show notes. I'll also drop that into the live chat right now if you just want to click on it immediately. And then the even more fun part, because it can be fun. Home buying can be fun. But here's the most fun part that we have available for you. It's the November giveaway. Right now, you can click on the link. There's only 9 entries, guys. 9 people have entered themselves in to the November giveaway, giving them a chance to be eligible to win the $100 Fanatics gift card giveaway. It's the Ravens team store. All you got to do, comment on the post with the hashtag Vault, as Monica did here. What's up, Monica? I know you never miss a live. Really cool 31s in the house as well with their entries. So comment on the post. Use the hashtag Vault. Let them know what your dream home looks like. Follow PRMI Mid-Atlantic on Instagram. Subscribe to the Vault if you don't already do so. It is that simple. I'll drop the link. It's already pinned in the live chat, but if you want another link, just drop it in right now, and we will announce a winner coming up at the end of the month. Thanks to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support, and thanks to all of you guys for being with us on this Tuesday. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Over 1,000 concurrents. Thank you guys for being here. And without further ado, it's time to bring in DC himself. Derek Coleman from All 22 Ravens Film Analysis joins us on a semi-regular basis, and it's time to get schooled. Let's go to the classroom, shall we?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good to see you, brother.
How are you handling this by yourself?
Yeah, you know how it goes, man. This is every day for you.
Yeah, but I use like a platform where I can pause my recording. So, if I need to clear my throat or something, I can pause. But on the viewer end, it looks like, hopefully it looks smooth. So, I don't know how you're doing it. 2 hours or an hour and a half consecutive?
You never know, man. Once the super chats start flying, we could be here for 90. We could be here for 120. But I think as anybody would tell you who got his career started in radio, this is just what you do.
Yeah.
You dance, you tap dance, you pontificate, you delay sometimes, you get on your soapbox. You know how it goes. But yeah, I appreciate that. And let everybody know. Let's do this instead of burying it in the back of our segments. Let's start here. Just in case, most people are familiar with you. You've built a platform that is north of 43,000 subscriptions in the YouTube space. And as you put it, all 22 football film analysis with no fluff. And today will be no exception. Let everybody know what you got coming up, what you've been up to the last couple of days since that Week 11 game went final in Cleveland. And then we'll dive into what you have prepared for us today.
It's funny with, both of the teams that I try to watch film of immediately as soon as I can, the Ravens and the Lions, both of them defenses played spectacular. Particularly, there's no way for me to separate the two, but to watch the Lions defensive film while their offense was self-destructing in Philadelphia, it was borderline heroic. So I've been watching a lot of defensive film, and I recognize that most people want to talk about the offensive line. I feel comfortable doing that. I don't have offensive line queued up here, though. I have some defensive stuff that I think is interesting, in particular, 2 of the things the Ravens are trying to do against the Browns. And then I do want to talk about the Henry run, the 59-yard run near the end of the third quarter, as well as, I guess they're calling it the hurricane play from Andrews.
Yep.
And compare it to some of our tendencies that we've had for years in high leverage situations. Beautiful.
Love it. The floor is yours, my man.
This is one of my favorite plays from the whole game because I recognize that this name will bring in reactions from people, positive and negative, but it reminds me of stuff that Rex Ryan used to do. And so what I mean is, Rex and other people back then, everyone wasn't as infatuated with these mug looks as they are now. You see it, at a high school level as well. But what I really love about this is 4 players from one side are dropping out. I don't know if you or anyone else has talked about this play, but I don't know if I want to say irregular, but to have your 4 droppers from the mug look all emanate from the same side, that's unusual. That's unique. And they make it look smooth. They really do. I would say it's an irregular zone. This is in the first half. You can see, Dylan Gabriel is still at quarterback here. And I hope that you and everyone else understands like why you've kind of got to pause the video as you go through this. It's just the way that it is now. But in any case, I think Roquan kind of takes a bad angle here. I suspect that the 4 guys dropping out from one side, these 4, is what interrupts the read for Dylan Gabriel and moves him off. I would say he's a 1-read guy right now, as far as a quarterback goes, like a Tyler Huntley in some ways. I got my read. If it's there, boom. If it's not, I'm gone. And, compared to Shedeur Sanders on the other side, he'll go through, we saw it during the game, he'll go through 2 or 3 or 4 reads. I love this play because we have so many variations. It almost reminds me of like a musician who's played the same song thousands of times, and they come to your city, you go watch the show, and all of a sudden, 90 seconds in, they throw this variation at you that you've never heard before. And if you're there live to see it, you're like, whoa, this is really cool. That's kind of how I feel about this.
And Coach, for the audio-only audience out there, you got 8 guys up at the line. So that's what you're referring to here. And then it ends with Dylan getting flushed out of the pocket, or to your point here, right? I mean, he just, like you said, kind of a 1-read wonder at this point in his young career. And let's be clear, like both of these quarterbacks are not set up for success with the current state of Cleveland.
Terrible.
And so once the rush comes, I mean, look at all the white hats, black hats, really, white jerseys that are chasing after Gabriel. I mean, this play had absolutely no chance. And was this the one that was that Trenton Simpson there at the top of the screen? And that was the controversy. Why was there booth controversy about whether or not it should have been a late hit? That was ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, I saw 3 of these on Sunday. One of them, and it's always, I don't want to say it's always, it oftentimes seems to center on inside linebackers. It's Jack Campbell for the Lions, Trenton Simpson for the Ravens, at least on Sunday. This is the same play from the end zone angle, so I was just going to let it flow through and just I try to mark up the film before I present it. Other people do it live. It creates a pretty heavy workflow to push these out. And that's why I do less content this year than in previous years. But what content I do put out is longer form. It just that's just the way it is. But in any case, you got 4 rushers from this side, and here's the 4 droppers. Really cool, the end zone angle that we get this, and we can see it quite clearly. I don't mean to be insulting when I say that Gabriel's a 1-read guy. When you're facing this level of post-snap complexity, dude, I'd be a 0-read guy if I was back there, right now trying to deal with this. Like, let me just take a knee and move on to the next play or get somebody else in here. Because, he's trying to navigate all of that. And then in this case, it's mitigating risk to an extent to then scramble out of here. I think Roquan takes a bad angle. Roquan kind of bends this a little bit like a J. Instead of coming downhill, outside in, and forcing Gabriel back to his help. I think Roquan's angle, it's pretty obviously a poor one.
Look at Trenton, man. There's that sideline speed, right?
Unbelievable, man. I mean, he almost looks like he's operating at a different speed. Like those professional graphic editors can make this player be like 75% speed, this guy be 75% speed, and then one player in particular be at like 2x. That's almost what this looks like to me. It looks superhuman.
Look at 31. Is he 32? Excuse me. Trenton, he just finds a gear right there. It's good to find. It's nice to see, as we've talked about a little bit in recent weeks. It's nice to see that while the weak side job was lost, obviously, over the summer to Teddy, it's nice to see him finding a role in what's become a small. Didn't he have 3 or 4 pressures?
Yeah.
3 or 4 pressures.
Very small sample size.
Yeah.
And I got another one during this video with him. It's a quarterback hit on Gabriel in the first half. It might be the next one. It is, in fact. That was accidental segue, but it works out in our favor. It's generally on 3rd down when he's in the game. At this point, I don't know what his snap count is, and I didn't have this play queued up to illustrate anything necessarily specific to Simpson. It's really to focus on Awuzie and Martin, who played quite well. Historically, when we've had Marlon out of there, we've struggled on defense at times. Awuzie was a rock, and then Martin, when he filled in at the nickel, he played great. It's a high-low concept. Hopefully all of this comes through on the user's end nicely. This is the route that Awuzie ends up taking in the back corner of the end zone.
And hey, coach, just to underscore the point on Simpson being a small sample size, I just pulled up the snap count screenshot. The guy played 5 defensive snaps and made the most of them. Good God.
Yeah. He seems to be burning with desire to get to the ball and attack.
Yeah.
You got another illustration over here. This is one of those 5. And the cool thing about it from a Simpson standpoint is he's lined up over here down into the boundary. I think he's next to Green. And Gabriel's reading the top side, the top side of our screen, the left-hand side for the Browns offense. Awuzie is just so calm and cool. I did an Awuzie video yesterday. I really liked him when he played for the Bengals. And Ravens fans have at times in the past, they didn't like me talking about their defense in such high regard. But when they had Lou Anarumo, those guys knew what they were doing. Pre-ACL injury, Awuzie, one of the best corners in the league, 2022 knee injury. This is Awuzie smoothly just taking over Fanning. It's an easy read for him, don't get me wrong. Gabriel's getting out of here, and this is Simpson again, like he shot out of a cannon, going after the quarterback, getting a quarterback hit. People nowadays are going to complain about stuff like that. Like, he's just playing football, and then it's a great job by Martin, because I think this is Judy, who's kind of running a little bit of a China out whip, and then he'll spin back to the inside. It looks like to me, he's just practiced that kind of thing, and Gabriel sees it, identifies it, and it doesn't lose Martin. He still is. I think he gets a PD here. If he doesn't, he's really close to it. It certainly looks like a PD to me. You got 2 guys on that play down in the red zone. First half, obviously, because Gabriel's still in. Martin and Simpson, neither one of them are starters. Neither one of them are on the field consistently. But when we need them to, when we run them on here on a 3rd and goal, they both come up, gold. I think that I said this in a video I just recorded on Kyle Hamilton. This now to me really resembles and looks like the defense we saw in the preseason that we were all so excited about. It looks the same to me now. And I don't know if anyone else agrees with that statement or has said it in that manner, but things look the same in that we can be variable from snap to snap and everybody's executing.
Man, and one note there on the Simpson technique tackle there, kind of the bang bang play and a quarterback hit on Gabriel. I mean, credit him for, he goes high there and lands that body weight in the momentum on Gabriel, and you're getting that called, as you just alluded to. Instead, he goes low, and it's perfectly timed. So, man, it's great to see 32, albeit, as we've already mentioned a couple times now, a small sample size, finding a role, finding a home within this defense, because it wasn't all that long ago that we said, well, where the hell are you going to – when are you going to and where are you going to play him? And now he's showing you that some of that positional flexibility is finding himself a minor home.
I think he's more of like – I like basketball analogies or combat sports analogies. To me, he's more of like an on-ball defender because of his side-to-side agility in basketball. But he's also seems to me to be really good as a help defender. Again, this is a basketball analogy, like someone who can, from the other side of the court, come out of nowhere and pin a shot, a layup against the backboard, or steal from the backside. He's just very active. And right now, at least, with limited opportunities, he's very hostile when he's on the field. And you see that with the 2 hits on Dillon Gabriel. We're into the 3rd quarter now. I have 2 plays here to show in a row, and we're Ravens fans, but I am going to talk about the whole dynamic that's dumb as I don't know what for former offensive linemen in the NFL to be lining up as fast as they can to criticize Shedeur Sanders for not being able to set the protection against all of this stuff that Zach Orr threw at him. We're in a mug look. We just showed the crazy one, the first play, right, where 4 defenders from one side drop out and 4 defenders from the other side rush. Now we're in a mug look, so of course we're doing the same thing. Wrong. We're bringing the nickel defender off the edge. Like, tell me how many quarterbacks in the NFL are accurately, right now, November 2025, are accurately diagnosing this against our defense. I'll wait, because Matt Stafford didn't do it either. The first week that he got Kyle Hamilton as a nickel defender. This is a beautiful play from a Kyle Hamilton standpoint, right? We're spinning off of the running back. They don't teach that, They don't teach that. That's just that's like shooting guard athleticism in a power forward body. for again, to use another basketball analogy. One more thing, I guess I'm going to touch on it again on the next play, but is this Shedeur Sanders' fault? Like, I don't care about the whole Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders thing, but I do from the standpoint of let's be intellectually honest. Like, those guys, neither one of them are being set up to succeed. You said that very well, a little while ago. This is a 3rd and 8 in the third quarter. I think it's the first possession he's on the field. And here comes the nickel blitz from, again, it's Martin. I think we might have a mistake down here on the bottom side between Wiggins and Gilman. It looks to me like Gilman, what we do know, Gilman is lined up on the line of scrimmage. He is firing out of there. That to me looks like he's running to center field. Here, which to me would mean that Wiggins is like deep thirds guy, but I don't know what this is, to be real with you. Like, it kind of looks like 3 deep, 3 under, because we do have 6 defenders, right? If I can count still, we do have 6 defenders, but it's highly irregular. Possibly it's because of this release by Njoku, right? He's the backside guy, but it works out in our favor. This is a great call, and I just don't know what we're doing, whether we're Ravens fans or what. If you can't say, that's going to be ridiculous for someone to try to diagnose.
Did Shedeur have the chance to – did he have Njoku across the middle there with his sight line or no?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's looking up to the top side. I think initially he's looking up here, which makes sense. That's the trip side. That's where there's more receiver. I believe that's where he's looking initially, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it just collapses on him so quickly. And to your point there with Kyle, while the basketball analogy is really fitting there, is not only we both know that Kyle's frame and overall stature would be perfect on a basketball court, but how ironic is it that his father, Derek, played overseas in Greece?
Yeah.
So
I said this in the Hamilton video I just recorded. He's a very professional. He came into the NFL as a professional athlete already from Notre Dame. Clean cut, very well spoken, obviously intelligent, and raised by, a professional athlete. He's a nasty football player with the helmet and pads on, and so sometimes people look at a person's personality and kind of extrapolate that to the way they play on the field. He's a nasty football player, physical and mean. He's as mean as it gets, in my opinion.
Just ask Dillon Gabriel. Wasn't that the play that he kind of like slammed him down, that he ended up leaving and going into concussion protocol? I mean, we've seen it time and time again, Coach, that is absolutely the case. And that's exactly why a guy like Terrell Suggs comes on this show in September and says he'd fit in with us.
He's underpaid. He's underpaid.
As the highest paid safety. Imagine that.
This is during the stretch where we're, and this is Gabriel in the game and Sanders. From the third possession to the final possession, the Browns ran 36 offensive snaps, not including punts, okay, and got 66 yards. So our defense was completely annihilating them, and that's kind of par for the course here lately. I think this is the last one for defense, and then I did have a couple of offensive plays to go over if you wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. And folks definitely just want your kind of, big picture on the offensive line too before we get on out of here.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I mean, I didn't load any film up, but everyone should know that I have my own opinions on them that are probably way out an outlier from most people. This is Wiggins' interception, and this goes to the point of how complex things can look that Orr is presenting right now. So keep in mind, the previous one that I just showed you, Hamilton blitzed up the middle, spun off of the running back, and got the sack. Here's a similar look, right? Except this time he's going to pick the left guard, which is 75. The only thing that would have made this better is if he picked Wyatt Teller to give him something else to complain and bitch about, because that's all he does. But in any case, Van Noy loops around that, and they don't pick it up because Shedeur Sanders calls the protection to the wrong side, where there's, there are 4 defenders lined up here, and there are 4 defenders lined up here. So you tell me, where you should call it. In this case, the center slides to the right and shows, well, he looks like a Ravens interior lineman to me because he's got no awareness or ability to adjust during the play. Yeah, we got a problem here, right? We got 3 blocking 1. Of course, that's the quarterback's fault, right? It's like, I don't know how old you are, but there used to be this game called electric football where you could like program your players on a certain course, and then you could not adapt at all during the play. They might veer off course. That's what this kind of reminds me of. If we're saying that the center is got to do what the quarterback is told the entirety of the play, it's just ridiculous to me to see, former players just line up to criticize one player and not the other. This same play from the end zone angle gives you an idea of what we're doing. Green's dropping out against third down. Roquan is dropping out. This is a unique zone blitz to me. Normally, at least from what I know of them, the zone blitz has got 3 deep and 3 under. It doesn't look clean here. So in a typical zone blitz that I have experience with and knowledge of, the corner would be getting depth. Someone would be in the middle of the field. Remember on the previous play, I showed you Gilman and Wiggins kind of both ending up in the same area. And then, the other corner would be the deep thirds. It's not really a zone. You got to match routes. But that's not what we're doing. Awuzie is sitting down in the flats. This could be an Awuzie thing. It really doesn't matter because Shedeur is looking here. But I just find it interesting. I know there's a lot on the screen. Sorry about that. I just find it interesting that there's no initiation of backpedal by Awuzie to get into deep thirds at the same time that Stark seems to be rolling to half field. It almost starts to look like a cover 2 or what old school guys would call a cloud cover 3. That's where the corner kind of sits in the flat. So it doesn't matter in the context of the play here. Obviously, if you're going to throw the football to a guy from a Cleveland standpoint, it should be, I think this is 83 on like an out. That's the guy who definitely pops open here. If that's where you're going to try to if that's where you want to try to throw the football to that side of the field, that's the route that's open, as opposed to Judy, who doesn't even finish his route. I'm really not surprised knowing what I know of the guy on the field and off. But in any case, we definitely wasted it on the next snap. That's the interception where I think Rosengarten gets walked back into Lamar. We're presenting complex things in an instant to these quarterbacks. Maybe at some point that'll get halted. Maybe Love for the Packers, or Drake May for the Patriots, or Aaron Rodgers if he comes back, or Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco. Maybe those guys will shred this. But man, right now in the last 5 games, 74 points allowed. The yards per play is just going down. Zach Orr's done a great job, particularly in the last month plus.
And you just kind of sit here and ask yourself, like, are they for real? Remains to be seen. But to your point, the sample size is growing by the week. And when you include the Rams in that sample size, who probably got a darn good chance of being the NFC representative this year, bodes well for what's to come.
I watched the Rams Seahawks game last night, the All 22, and I just watched the Seahawks defense, and I will tell you that the Seahawks are a base nickel defense. That's what we threw at the Rams at home in that game, that 17-3 loss. A lot of things look the same, and in fact, from a yards per play and overall yards output, we're right there with Seattle. If you just compare those 2 games, season-long data, sacks, all of those things. Of course, Seattle's in a different stratosphere than us right now. But if you just look at those 2 games and how they defended things compared to how we did, it looks very similar. I do have 2 run plays queued up here. This is an unusual one to me. It's a wham trap on the backside D tackle. So Kolar is illustrated by that yellow line. He's trapping this backside D tackle. If you remember the first play of the game against the Bills in week 4 regular season last year that Henry busted, we're running wham trap with Ricard. He's trapping the front side D tackle. So that would be this guy. Still can be called wham trap. There's a little bit of confusion between Ricard and Linderbaum. It could be because 43 steps up. So anyway, here's the trap block, the wham block, if you will, from Kolar. Slow motion with this. Hopefully, if your viewers have any feedback, whether we're reviewing the play slow motion too many times or not enough, I'm open to feedback. But because 43 is stepping downhill here, it looks like to me Linderbaum's stepping to him anyway. I'll give the all 22 angle, and you can kind of confirm that. So those 2 meet, and then Ricard also goes up to 43. So I don't want to say there's confusion, but there's nobody blocking 49 who runs himself out of there. But what is interesting to me is that this is a wham trap concept with a lead blocker, and that's unusual. I do think that Falele and Rosengarten did a nice job on this play, Falele just had a typical block on a 3 technique. Rosengarten did not. 30 is Devin Bush. So as 43 comes downhill, 30 will kind of start to go downhill. And Rosengarten, just adjusts his path, takes 30 down so that Henry can clear off of him. Both of those guys, struggled clearly in this game, Falele and Rosengarten. But give them credit on this play. Falele had just essentially a base block on the 3 technique, and then Rosengarten adjusted to 30's path and was able to take him out of there too.
The King, you take that 59-yard burst out of it, looks a lot different for him, especially in terms of yards per carry. But the beauty of it, you just don't wear that guy down. You wear a championship caliber defense down, and ultimately the dam broke on one play, right? I mean, there really was, outside of that play, they really did their job. I mean, I guess Zay Flowers has a nice feel for zone soft spots at times, and Lamar was able to find him. But other than that, I mean, if you're Jim Schwartz, you got to tip your cap to your defense.
Yeah. It's superhuman what Garrett can do. Actually, this play actually kind of illustrates that from the All-22. If I'm taking too long, feel free to let me know. But the path that Henry is on is here. And this is Garrett, who's lined up wide anyway. And I don't know if he's going to disrupt the play, but Voorhees peels back and gets a piece of him. I almost want to say, thankfully, because, he's veering in here. He just has great range. To me,
now,
he probably isn't going to touch. What's that?
So sorry, go ahead.
He probably isn't going to touch Henry, but just the fact that watching the film, every moment with him on the field looks dangerous. But here's the wham trap. Again, Kolar going to the backside D tackle. Usually on wham trap, you don't have a lead block through there as well. And that's what confuses me a little bit about this one. We've all seen wham trap many times, whether it's the front side D tackle or the backside. We've all seen it's all the rage right now. These insert blocks from tight ends and receivers inside the C gap. But this is a lead concept with a trap on the backside D tackle. The combination of those two things, I think, makes it, somewhat unique. Ward, tracks Henry down, ruins it for us because, of course, we knew, I don't know about you, man. I knew we were going to have to settle for a field goal pretty much right then.
Yeah. Well, that's been a season-long trend for sure. By the way, Denzel Ward, I think people were kind of getting after Zay and Derek for their lack of break. I'm using words that I've seen in the Twitter space for the lack of breakaway speed. Guys, Denzel is a track star. Come on. The guy's
right.
like, what do you run? Like a 4.3?
Yeah.
So
4.33 or something.
Hey, not to get too into the nitty gritty, but just because the guard play has been under fire deservedly so, was Voorhees a little bit late on that? Can we rewind? I mean, for him to get hands on Miles was great. Ronnie clearly goes upfield immediately. Was Voorhees just a touch late here?
In our typical wham concept, the one, as I referred to, maybe it'd be better to do this from the end zone angle. Sorry. In our typical wham trap concept, and we've got a very muddy look here, I guess, because everything's so compressed. But you're talking about the wham trap on the front side D tackle, then the right guard going back on this D tackle, who Kolar blocks. And then usually the guard kind of steps back and he goes to the backside D end. That's why some people, EA, Edgar Allen included, call it a triple trap. I think Brian Baldinger also calls it a triple trap. So, but part of that, and I'm still working on answering your question, sorry, is that because Linderbaum doesn't have to worry about that D tackle and Stanley doesn't have to worry about that D end, they work straight up to the second level normally on the wham trap concept. So to your point or to your question, my guess is Voorhees, because we're trapping that D tackle, look at Voorhees get his hand on that nose. I'm talking about 93, but his eyes are already on Garrett. That looks like a pretty good job to me.
Okay.
Just from the standpoint of he's punching 93. I think he's trying to elongate 93's recognition of the play.
Yeah.
He's
and
trying
I'm
to
glad you pulled this angle up, Coach, because I didn't see the attention that he was giving to 93 while, to your point, looking at 95. That's actually pretty impressive.
You never know, man. I mean, Bobby, happens to me all the time. You watch the All-22 or even like high school or college games. I'm like, what the heck are we doing? And then you look at the end zone angle and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I get it now. you know, but I think he's trying to, that little touch on 93, we're trying to elongate 93's recognition of any type of trap block. He knows now, pretty much, 93. No one's engaging me. He knows something now. But that little touch is, you know, perhaps looks like nothing, kind of hopefully trying to give Kolar a better opportunity to trap him, because we're at a strength and bulk disadvantage there. Kolar trapping a D tackle.
Yeah.
You gotta want to do that if you're the tight end or the fullback. And I think we got the right guys there, Kolar and Ricard.
Okay. I've kept you far longer than what we planned for, but I'd be remiss if, and you've been very outspoken on your personal channel in the Twitter space. Can you catch us up to speed on your current view of the state of this offensive line? John Harbaugh's recent comments have set everything ablaze once again, of course, because of really essentially answering a very fair question posed to him by Jeff in a condescending way. So maybe it doesn't surprise you, but your current thoughts going into a Jets week where, you know, sure, they won't have to deal with Quinnen Williams, who balled out in his debut last night for Dallas, but there are still talented defensive players for a Jets team that's going nowhere.
I mean, Bobby, there's a lot of thoughts there. Number one, it doesn't surprise me, that answer. I don't know Jeff at all, but my observation in the social media space and such is that he seems extremely balanced to me. I don't get the perception that he's way out to the right as far as being pro Ravens, you know, propaganda-ish, or far off in the other direction, viewing everything in the negative. I feel like he's pretty balanced.
Agreed.
And I don't normally watch press conferences, but I did see that reaction. I would like to say it disappointed me, but it did not. I'm not surprised at all. And it, to me, seems to illustrate that you're not going to get what you want as a Ravens fan. You're not going to get any level of consistent offensive play against the best defensive teams. That play that we just talked about, the wham trap, some of those, you can't run that 14 times a game. You can run inside zone 14 times a game, outside zone 14 times a game. We can't run power at all with this offensive line because we can't move people vertically or horizontally. And so I don't think Ravens fans are wrong at all. Like, what are we doing here? If it's something that, well, it's a taxpayer funded stadium, right?
Correct.
So, and they make millions of dollars, you know, as not just the players and the coaches, but the owner. So there's no reason for Ravens fans to hold back complaints about the offensive line. We're not any good in there. We're not. And we haven't been for 14 months. We just haven't. Coach Evans, two things. Coach Evans, that one thing that he posted this week and something he said last year, I think it was week 3 or week 4. He put something like, we have eyes and we can see. You can't lie to us when we get to watch the plays. If you could block out the offensive line from us and only show the position players, cool, you could lie to us as long as you want, because we couldn't see it. We can see it. You know, they published in it. And another thing, Coach Evans showed a play. It might have been another trap concept out of the gun where 2 guys are missing their block and they have superior angles. That's the thing. That play gives us good angles. When we have good angles on inside zone and outside zone, we lose. Power, we don't get things done. Our pass protection issues, you could show the stunts that teams run against the right side of our offensive line from last year, 2024, and the stunts they're running against us now, they're the same stunts. And they still work, whether it's Falele's fault, Rosengarten's fault, Linderbaum's fault. I've said this many times. I do not care. We have a opportunity to win a Super Bowl with a guy that, not just for Lamar, but for the fan base, but what would it do for, you know, everyone who's been rooting for Lamar and the whole way that the NFL judges quarterbacks in the pre-draft process? They were 100% wrong on this dude. And I think there should be an extra level of motivation to secure him, protect him, and put him in a position where as many times as possible he is safeguarded in the pocket, because Lamar Jackson, with time, to me, is the most dangerous player in the NFL. And it's shocking that no one in the Ravens organization is willing to flip over a table and say, what are we doing here? Why haven't we built more? Yeah, the backups for us right now, Ben Cleveland, Emory Jones, they might not be that good. Fine. You could have drafted guys earlier. You could have signed players in free agency. You had opportunities to trade. You secured and improved the defense. Gilman, Draymond Jones. It did nothing for the offensive line. I'm not surprised at all. I'm still disappointed somehow. I don't know. How does that dynamic work out? How can I not be surprised and be disappointed at the same time? Explain that to me.
I think that's inexplicable. I mean, to your point, he's had anything but time. And we've seen that rear its ugly head, not in the form of ultimate decisions, meaning final scores over the last couple of days, or I should say last couple of weeks. But you go back and watch, as I did this morning, Sunday in Cleveland, and you're seeing a quarterback that not only doesn't have time, he doesn't have space, to your point.
Yeah, even if we're not getting sacked, there's times where something's being compressed. We don't look strong. We don't look strong as an offensive line.
Right.
Simultaneously, we're not athletic. And we're not getting horizontal or vertical displacement on people. I don't know. I'd like to say we would be a zone team, but we don't execute that consistently. Look, the reality is if we want to win football games from here moving forward, we've got to go to a more conservative offense that puts our offensive line gives our offensive line less opportunity to risk Lamar Jackson because that's what's worked the last 2 weeks. That has what's worked the last 2 weeks against the Vikings and the Browns. 2 quality defenses, good pass rush. Look at the second half play calls against the Vikings. Look at the second half play calls against the Browns. We're going to have to win games 24-21 in the playoffs. Yeah. So we need the defense to continue to play at this level. I have zero confidence in the offensive line, nor the people that are responsible for putting that product out there. None.
I was going to say, and think about all the layers that go into this evaluation process this conversation that we're having right now. You brought it all the way back to the free agency process in March and the draft in April, where there's inactivity in March, and then there's maybe reactivity, if you will, or reactiveness in April when you go and draft a day 2 pick, who there's potential of an Andrew Voorhees redshirt type season because of the labor procedure that he underwent right after the combine. And so you couple all of that with the issues that they've had in season now and the lack of development or regression, whether you want to call it regression for Roger or just straight up reality for Fa'alele. And it's a perfect storm.
It is. They've created it. This chicken's coming home to roost. I mean, it absolutely is. They put too much faith in a group and a coach, Warhop, to create a high level. I would like to hear someone say, do you want an elite offensive line? John, do you want an elite offensive line? Because you don't act like you do.
Should we try and convince Jeff that should be next week's question?
No, man. I mean, like that dude, those guys probably have. I've been a reporter before. I spent 5 years at a small, media organization. So it's sometimes you have a level of anxiety and apprehension about asking a question because you know that it's forcing someone to kind of walk on eggshells. Like the worst and best thing to happen to me to try to talk about football at this level was I started paying attention to the Detroit Lions because the difference between Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh up there on the podium, I mean, Campbell screwed up Sunday night against the Eagles. Horrible decisions. I don't get the chance to watch press conferences for either teams, but I did read a quote that someone posted in Lions Discord. He said, I put my guys in bad situations.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember John saying that, dude. He's never said anything like that to me. You hear execution. What's that quote that you got on the screen right now? Best 5 guys.
Well, so as someone who's sat in his press conference settings, John's previously in my career, I can tell you, as you're already kind of suggesting here, that as the second longest tenured head coach in this league, he knows and has molded his media members to his preferences. He wants questions asked a certain way. He wants the PR team to handle their business in a certain way. And that's been the case. And sure, it's led to a lot of continuity, a lot of success, a world championship. But
13 years ago.
Thank you. And that's the harsh
Matt,
reality.
do it this way. What do 13-year-old kids right now, someone who's 13 today, do they care about what happened in 2012? Does a 23-year-old person care about what happened 13 years old? No.
They may not even remember.
that might as well be 30 years ago. And so I don't fault Ravens fans at all for being maybe a little bit over the top sometimes in their criticism and their anger and their frustration. We have Lamar Jackson. It would be like, I hesitate to even mention names, but in the basketball universe, a superstar player being physically beat down often and no one protecting him, no enforcer, no one stepping up and doing the same thing to the other team. We're not protecting Lamar Jackson with enough consistency and efficiency because our talent level's low and our preparation for the whole O-line, I think, was poor from an organizational standpoint. I don't care about asking it. Someone should ask John, hey, do you want an elite offensive line? Tell me the 5 steps to make an elite offensive line happen. Where do you think we are in that progression of those 5 steps? If he gets past step 2 or 3, he's absolutely lying.
And Coach, just to be clear, the quote, the transcription that I went and tweeted out here was from yesterday. Of course, you put the best 5 players out there. There was a condescending tone attached to it. He one-worded Jeff at one point, like Greg Popovich, to keep the basketball terms going. He Greg Popovich Jeff, and then Jeff came back and was like, hey, you've said before that you've been receptive to the idea of personnel changes. You want to know the last time he was receptive to it, Coach? Here, this was entering week 6. Another quote. Okay, this was after the Houston debacle, right? Leading into Rams week, which was the week before the bye. And at that point, another reporter asked him, hey, would you consider potential personnel changes? He was receptive. He says, oh yeah, everything's on the table. There are guys that are in that area where they still have to prove themselves. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point, but you've got to keep earning that. You can't plateau. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, at some point in time, somebody else is going to get a chance, and that's just the way it should work. And so when you match those up against one another, you can see what's leading to a lot of these frustrations in the fan base.
Yeah, and then when I made my mind up. I think it was the Eagles week last year in the regular season loss.
Yep.
I said on my channel, I said I'm not spending a significant amount of time on some of these guys on the offensive line, particularly Falele. It's a waste of my time. We know what the ceiling is. We know what the floor is. Good for him. He's a hard worker. Hopefully somebody signs him to a nice contract and he makes generational wealth for his family like Pat McCarry did with the Jags. Good for them. Hopefully it works out for someone. But we've got to move on from not matching up bodies, athleticism level, agility to, like the play that we showed where Rosengarten adjusted to Devin Bush's path, the wham trap play that I showed. Falele can't do that. He can't adjust. If something's on his track, he can maybe handle it. Maybe he can execute it. But if there's some type of movement, agility, or he's got to adjust his path, it's over. And for John Harbaugh to act like we don't have eyes and we can't see it, whatever. It's frustrating, and it should be frustrating. We want Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl. We want Lamar Jackson to have a moment of some vindication from all the pre-draft stuff and all the criticism that he got before 2019, after 2019, after 2023. And Ravens fans are fed up with a guy acting like there isn't added motivation or added layers to Ravens fans' desires to see him win one.
I think it's a good place to throw a bookmark in it. Kept you way, way longer than we had anticipated, but I appreciate all the commentary. Shelly wants to know the name of your channel, and we've already shared that at the top of this segment. But Shelly, just in case you missed that, I'm dropping Coach's link into the live chat right now. Again, it is all 22 films on YouTube. I'll go ahead and throw that up on the screen, Coach, and let everybody know what maybe you have coming up the rest of this week. I mean, you've been dumping content within the last 24 hours or so. I mean,
I wish I could get out faster. I wish I could get it out faster.
Hey, I mean, you already gave us 30, like you said earlier on, you already gave us 29 minutes and 11 seconds on Cheeto, who's been playing really well for this team. And then you also mix in some Detroit content. So anyway, here it is. It's all 22 films on YouTube. Let everybody know what the rest of the week's going to entail.
I mean, I've done so many Ravens defense videos. I feel obligated to do something on the offense. I'm one that I don't feel like I can put out a quarterback film study within 36 hours of the game. I don't feel qualified, number one, or number two, like I've watched adequate film to produce something that is so complex, and so I try to do the quarterback film studies by Thursday. I'm just glad I'll be able to get to do one on Lamar this week. It wasn't pretty, and so that I'm looking forward to that, actually being able to say in a couple of situations, okay, I think this might be his fault, and a couple of others saying, hey man, look at what he's dealing with. I would recommend to you didn't ask this question. I would recommend to anyone, fan, analyst, want to be an analyst like me. If you want to have an opinion on the offensive line, go watch other teams' offensive lines, because I get to watch the Lions and the Seahawks O-lines. And they have some weaknesses. They do, but it gives you a really clear picture of what our guys can and can't do, and why some people are so frustrated with what we have to watch every week. So I know you kept me longer, but I told you not to ask me about the offensive line or we'd be here longer. So it's your fault.
If people in the live chat are telling me to shut the hell up, stop cutting him off, keep him. He doesn't mind. Hey, Coach has got other things going on in his life. That's all.
I do. I'm preparing a Lions film study for how their defense played against the Eagles when the Lions offense self-destructed. And so I'm not advocating that we should prepare for that, but when we face the teams who have a defense like the Browns or the Vikings and a competent offense, I think the staff needs a comprehensive plan on how to win the game. Basically, a score in mind. Hey, 0 turnovers to 0 turnovers. How do we beat the Kansas City Chiefs with this offensive line? It's going to have to be 24-21 or something like that. There's not going to be a scenario, in my opinion, where our offensive line holds up for 60, 65 plays and we win a 38-35 game against those teams with the way our offense has been in 2025.
Appreciate you for stopping by, man. We'll look forward to doing it again. And again, I'm going to link to all of your channels and everything that folks are clamoring for in the show notes. All right, man.
Now you see why I sent you that meme as a response when you asked me about the offensive line.
That's a good little peek behind the curtain of our text chain, which is always entertaining. So
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for the time. Coach Derek Coleman from Ravens All 22 Film Analysis. Guys, you know how it goes with our guests. If you could, say thank you with a Twitter tag, I would appreciate it. He throws out clips typically on a daily basis, definitely in-game tweets on Twitter. He's a great follow, not just a subscriber. He's a great subscription, and he's a great follow. So I'm going to link to his Twitter account as I just did in the live chat. I'm also going to throw his YouTube link, his channel link into the live chat as well. Would love for you guys to go support his work, because as he just said, he alluded to it, I guess, there is only so much time, so many hours in the day. The way that these film guys grind, I really, really respect what they do. And it's always such a learning process for those of us that did not coach at the collegiate level, did not play at the professional level. And man, it was awesome. So thanks to Coach for stopping by the vault today. Good segue, I think, before we get on out of here, is he just said it. Essentially, the Ravens are going to have a really difficult time winning those high-scoring affairs with the current state of their offensive line. So if that is the case, perhaps it's an encouraging sign, what you see on the screen right now, of where this Ravens defense has ranked since week 6. 5th best in the NFL in terms of EPA per play. That it's a measurement of overall efficiency and performance. And we know that weeks 1 through 5, they were anything but efficient. They were third worst in the NFL, as Gordon noted here, in terms of EPA per play. And he summarizes it best, right? Opponents matter. And yes, this has been a favorable stretch since week 6. But it does rank the LA Rams, who, man, they're going to have a really darn good chance to represent the NFC in this year's Super Bowl in San Francisco. So if you're looking for reasons for optimism, perhaps it's right there. This is a Ravens defense that is playing at a level that is allowing them to not only stay in games like Sunday in Cleveland, but win games as they did Sunday in Cleveland. Pressure count as tallied up by my collective co-host, Cole Jackson. Kyle Van Noy led the way for the Ravens defense, recording 4 pressures. Trenton Simpson on 4 pass rush snap reps and 5 overall snaps in the game defensively had 3. I thought Coach did a great job of detailing the way that they've used Trenton to his strengths on third down in particular. He had 3 pressures. Draymond Jones in game number 2 as a Raven also recorded 3. Malachi Starks, Keon Martin, and Travis Jones each had 2. And Kyle Hamilton, as you see up on the screen, trolling Shedeur Sanders, along with David Ajabo. Maybe some of you are questioning the validity of PFF right now, being that David Ajabo had a pressure along with Kyle Hamilton. And yes, it was a very successful second half for the Ravens defense up against Shedeur. Just 4 of 16 completions allowed. 1 interception reeled in by Nate Wiggins. 3 of his 4, by the way, have come against Cleveland. They sacked Shedeur twice. Maybe one of those actually included Dylan Gabriel. I can't remember. Although, did Shedeur have the entire second half? Did Kyle get to Dylan at the end of the second quarter? Am I remembering that correctly? Anyway, the Ravens defense was locked down, as they should have been with rookie quarterbacks, particularly in the second half. No points allowed and just 44 overall yards. Thank you guys for confirming that in the live chat. Roquan Smith said it himself. He never wavered, never lost faith or belief in his play caller, and that's second-year DC, Zach Orr.
Always had a tremendous amount of respect for Zo. It's America. Like I said earlier in the week, people are always going to have opinions. That's why I guess it's home of the free. So people are going to voice their opinions, and they have the right to do so. But I never wavered. He never wavered, nor did anybody in the locker room, because we knew who we were, and it was just more so about getting out and being who we are. And the job is not complete. The mission is not complete. We're still on task.
Just an insane quote, going at an insane pace, was Roquan Smith, Agent Zero, doing what Agent Zero does when he's all hopped up on post-game adrenaline. So there you have it. Appreciate you guys for being with me today. Let's get to some quick hits, and we'll begin with Ravens media. Oh, Ravens Productions went off, detailing and perfectly articulating through video the game-winning play. And what we now know is Hurricane, dialed up by Todd Monken and staff. Perhaps it was actually John Harbaugh. Marlon Humphrey will talk about the executor of said play design. But here is Ravens media.
It's 4th and 1 from the Cleveland 35. The decision is made. They'll go for it. Push formation. Mark Andrews under center.
Spinning away, and there he goes!
Andrews to the 20.
All the way! What a call by the Ravens!
Let's go, boy! Oh, what a creative call! And Mark Andrews goes from the push to the big man sprint, and the Ravens have the lead.
one of the dopest thing that I've watched in a long time. Credit Ravens Productions for turning that thing around on the 48-hour turnaround on that sucker? Not even. It was released yesterday. That was Hurricane, and that was the difference on Sunday in Cleveland. Where the hell did all that come up? Well, as we learned from Pat Ricard post-game on Sunday, that was implemented or installed, I guess, within the week, that play design. Marlon Humphrey talked a little bit more about it.
Man, it's never easy to win in Cleveland. I don't really understand why. It's never easy to win. It's never easy to win, man. And but I tell you what, I was a big time cheerleader yesterday. And I was like, I didn't play, but boy, that win felt freaking special.
Like you galvanized the team to get the W is what you're saying.
It felt freaking special.
That's
and I'm
good.
going to say this. I don't know I'm sure he might not care, but whatever. I was, Mark Andrews with that little spinny round deal.
Yeah.
I was like, I go to somebody. I'm like, Monk is he's a wild, like he's got something in his downstairs to call that play. Like that's a wild play to freaking call.
Yeah.
So then I go up to an offensive coach. I'm like, dude, who came up with that play? I've never even seen that. We ran that in practice. And they're like, man, Harbs came up with it. And I go up to Harbs after the game and I'm like, hey, you a bad man.
Did he really come up with that?
Freaking man.
Did he really come up with that?
Dude, he said, he said he came up with it. He said, obviously it was a team effort on like how it was going to work, but he came up with that crap. And I was like, I said something a little more explicit, like we're going to keep it PG-13.
If you're looking for the truth, apparently just watch Marlon Humphrey's podcast, which was released yesterday. So John Harbaugh's the design guy. Todd Monken dialed it up. Mark Andrews and company executed it to the full extent, perfectly. Ends up being the difference on a historic day for Mark. He gets the win. And my God, did he reach a new level of speed that we haven't seen in a long time, especially for a guy that's just a couple years removed from a serious ankle injury due to the hip drop tackle on that Thursday night against the Bengals a couple years ago. For him to reach over 20 miles an hour was very encouraging, fun to watch, well done. Brian Baldinger talked about the overall evolution of the specific play when it comes to Ravens offensive strategy and the tush push.
Let's watch the evolution of a short yardage play with Mark Andrews under center, taking it from Linderbaum here. Week 2 against Cleveland on 3rd and 1, goes for 2 yards. Then week 10 in Minnesota right here. There's Mark Jackson, Derrick Henry, and there's Lamar. Now, in week 10, Mark Andrews under center. This is coaching. All right, let's pitch it to Lamar. Derrick Henry's the lead back, and Lamar runs for 3 yards and a first down. Now, it's 16-16, deadlocked with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. There's the look. There goes Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And there goes Cleveland with them. And Mark Andrews this time pulls it. Game planning, evolution. What can you do in order to get the yard when you need a yard? Watch Cleveland all go with Henry and Lamar. And now it's a foot race with Mark Andrews and the rookie linebacker Carson Schlesinger. 35 yards to break a 16-16 deadlock with 3 minutes to go. The dog pound is not barking.
They got to get better in the red zone. They got to get better consistently in short yardage scenarios, but well done there by Baldi, a former offensive line, talking about the evolution of that specific play when it comes to Mark, when it comes to this offensive line, when it comes to the design concept of the tush push. And ultimately, it was the difference in a gotta-have-it AFC North divisional game where, of course, you end up sweeping Cleveland for the first time in years. As we talked about yesterday, but just in case you missed it, the Jets will be trotting out former Ravens quarterback Tyrod Taylor as QB1. So they've benched Justin Fields. It's Ravens-Jets coming up on Sunday, 1 o'clock inside M&T Bank Stadium. And I want to say that this was a double-digit spread, which is not a surprise, but let me see if I can find specifically the number itself, 13 points the Ravens are favored by going into this Week 13 game. Week 12, Week 13. I said it earlier on, and now I forget. What is it? Week 12. Week 12. More on Jets-Ravens throughout the week. I know a lot of you were hoping that the NFL would place a 2-game suspension on Ja'Marr Chase because of some of the success that he's had in recent years against the Ravens secondary. But it's just 1 game for spitting on, whatever you want to call it, Jalen Ramsey in the Bengals-Steelers game from over the weekend. He straight up lied, Ja'Marr, with reporters post-game saying that he did not spit at Jalen Ramsey and he did not hesitate, but there is, as the league says, sufficient evidence to warrant otherwise. And in this case, I'm sure he'll appeal it, but it's a 1-game suspension, 2 games out, 2 weeks out from Ravens-Bengals, the first of 2 within a 3-week span on Thursday Night Football. It's Thanksgiving. It's in Baltimore. And then the second time will be Week 15. That is December 14th in Cincinnati. So feel like it's pretty universally believed that one, spitting, which was so first of all, it's dehumanizing in a lot of ways, and I get it. The amount that happens in between the lines on an NFL gridiron, there's a lot said, and it's the most violent sport out there, up there with maybe rugby. But spitting takes it to a level that clearly crosses a line. I think we can all probably agree on that, which is why I think we were all hoping that there was video evidence of Jeffrey Simmons spitting on Marshall Yanda years ago in the postseason, as Marshall alleges. But I don't think we've ever seen such. So anyway, long story short, Ja'Marr Chase gets a 1-game suspension. We'll see if he appeals that. Aaron Rodgers, meanwhile, sticking with AFC North news, underwent further tests today, or I should say yesterday, and it confirmed that he will not need surgery on what Tom Pelissero is describing as a fractured left wrist. So that's his non-throwing hand, non-throwing wrist. He's pushing to play Sunday at Chicago. He has played through injuries before. Perhaps he's going to try and do so again. But as of right now, there is no current, let's call it, confirmation that he'll play against the Bears. Ravens and Steelers were square off for the first of 2 coming up Week 14. And that game will be played at home for the Ravens. And then, of course, the regular season finale in Pittsburgh. That's what's going on. Captain writes, if Daniel was getting blown up, I would understand, but he's just whiffing. Who would have thought Zach Orr and the defense might save the season? That from Captain in terms of today's Super Chats. And that is your Tuesday show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sarah will be out tomorrow, just a FYI. Would love for you guys to go check out the show notes, also as a pinned comment right now in the live chat, and enter yourself into this month's giveaway, the $100 Fanatics gift card, and a giveaway that'll allow you to spend $100 if you win at Baltimore's team store, Ravens team store. So yeah, Femi Ayambadejo joins me tomorrow at 12:30. Looking forward to that conversation, and looking forward to hopefully catching up with you guys tonight inside the collective. Jeff Zrebeck, Cole Jackson, and myself, 8 o'clock Eastern. As always, you guys know where to find us right here in the YouTube space. Thanks, guys. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership if you are interested in doing so. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, if not before. Thanks, VAULTRONs. Thank you for spending some time with me. And Coach Coleman. That's Derek Coleman from Ravens All 22 Film Analysis, who always brings it. Today was no exception here inside the vault. Later, guys.